What it could be eternity, or just a week. But yeah, our chemistry is off the chain. It's perfect now, but will it change? This ain't a yes, this ain't a no. Just do your thing, we'll see how it go. Oh, first you don't succeed, yeah. Dust yourself off and try again. Can dust it off and try again, try again. Cause if at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again, try again.
Good morning. How are you today? Welcome to the Portal Podcast with Bob Colbert. I'm your host, Bob Colbert. Well, today we are starting a new adventure, so we're moving out away from the Roman Forum, and we are now going to move northwest of the Roman Forum toward the Vatican City area. It's about halfway actually to the northwest to the Theater of Pompey. Now, the significance of the Theater of Pompey is this is where Julius Caesar was assassinated. So prior to that, let me go ahead and run the video again. So if you remember from last week, we were in Curia Julia, which is the Senate house where the senators met when the building was under construction or being renovated. They would move to the Theater of Pompey. So let's kind of revisit the video, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Replaced Faustus Cornelius Sulla's reconstructed Curia Cornelia, which itself had replaced the Curia Hostilia. Caesar did so to redesign both spaces within the Comitium and the Roman Forum. The alterations with the Comitium reduced the prominence of the Senate and cleared the original space. The work, however, was interrupted by Caesar's assassination at the Theater of Pompey, where the Senate had been meeting temporarily while the work was completed. The project was eventually finished by Caesar's successor, Augustus Caesar, in 29 BC. The Curia Julia is one of only a handful of Roman structures that still survives mostly intact because of its conversion into the Basilica of Sant'Andriano al Foro in the 7th century and several later restorations. However, the roof, the upper elevations of the sidewalls, and the rear facade are modern and date from...
All right. So I'll show you a picture of the building. Excuse me. This is the map. So in the Roman Forum, the Colosseum is to your lower right there, and this is very walkable. So if you just walk a little bit to the northwest, you will see where the building Curia Julia was located, and that was where the senators met. All right. So now we're going to move about a mile away and go to the theater of Pompey. So let me click that on there. So, yeah. Let's see. Let me go ahead and get to, instead of that one, go ahead and get to, that would be better. So this way I can manipulate. So let's start kind of orient ourselves. So there's the Colosseum right there. And if you traverse across the way there and you will see Curia Julia right there. And then you go, and this is probably drivable. You could walk it, but it'd probably be a little long walk. So it's about 7 minutes or a mile away driving. So you'll take this route right here from the Roman Forum and kind of do a little U there, and you'll come up that way, and then this is where the theater of Pompey was located back in the day, right here. Yeah. So it doesn't exist anymore, apparently. I don't see it anyway. This is kind of what it looks like now, where that was located right in there. But during the day, I mean, back in the day, it looked like this. So let me get to the model. I have to manipulate this, make it smaller. So this is what the theater of Pompey looked like back in ancient Rome. Had like a big old garden area, courtyard, and it was walled here. And very much in today, you would think of this as the lobby of the theater, and then you kind of go back through this and kind of go into a theater. In our days, it's like 10 theaters area. So, but back then they had like a courtyard. So this is very beautiful. So I'm going to try to manipulate this model. So I'll kind of turn it around. So I'm going to go to the front of it first. So yeah, so you kind of would go through this gate area, or I'm sure there was probably a gate over here, but that's kind of what it looked like. So you would go in here, you can have garden areas and fountains and whatever. This would be like a huge walkway there. How do yeah. And then you kind of go into through this door into basically like an amphitheater. So, and you would sit around very much like a stadium. Now, this paint stuff, that's like cloth shades. So they would roll those out to cover the patrons, uh, fans or whatever that were watching a play or something. So yeah, kind of looks like a half coliseum. Now I'm thinking that I may be wrong, but I'm thinking that when the Senate came to meet here, they may have met here. Let me, they may have met in this building right there. I think so. I don't know for sure. But this is a sketch fab model. Uh, I have to thank Lasha Tashandia for the development of that at King's Visualization Lab. Uh, yeah. So, and this, you can follow this M. Rainey on there. It says here, the Theater Pompey in ancient Rome was built during the latter part of the Roman Republic era by Pompey the Great. It was completed in 55 BC. It was the first permanent theater to be built in Rome. Behind the theater was an expansive garden complex of fountains and statues along the covered colonnades were rooms dedicated to the exposition of art and other works collected by Pompey during the campaigns. On the opposite end of the garden was the Curia for political meetings. The Senate would often use this building along with the other halls that satisfy the requirements for their formal meetings. And of course, the Curia is infamous as the place where Julius Caesar was assassinated by Brutus and Cassius during a session of the Senate on the Ides of March, 15 March 44 BC. And this model is based on an early reconstruction of Lugia's Cania in 1848. It's a derivation of models by Martin Blasby at King's Visualization Lab. So yeah, see if I can get that back. So yeah, I think it was that building that they met in, right there. Like I said, this is a sketch file model. These are just notional buildings that are there to kind of give a little reference to the scale. Of the model. Yeah. Isn't that cool? So yeah, I could be wrong. It could be one of these buildings on the side here, but I'm thinking it was this building, what they're talking about, where the Julius Caesar was assassinated in that building right there. So, yeah. So I'll put this theater, map theater, close sketch file. There we go. So I'm trying to. Hmm. Not as organized today. There we go. All right. So let me do a little reading on it. Hope y'all were having a great day. It's kind of raining in Los Angeles. Kind of depressing. Let's see. Okay, the Theater of Pompey in Latin is Theatrum Pompeia. In Italian, it's Teatro di Pompeo. Also known by other names, was a structure in ancient Rome built during the latter part of the Roman Republic era by Pompey the Great. It was completed in 55 BC. It was the first permanent theater to be built in Rome. Its ruins are located at Largo di Torre, Argentina. Its ruins. Argentina. I don't know if that means they moved it or what. Enclosed by large columns and porticos was an expansive garden of complex fountains and statues. Along the stretch of the covered arcade were rooms dedicated to the exposition of art, other works collected by Pompey during the campaigns, military campaigns. On the opposite end, remember, it was the garden complex, was the Curia of Pompey for political meetings. Yeah, on the opposite end of the garden there. Must be that little building on the opposite side where the garden is, instead of where I was saying, in that little building. Huh. Interesting. The Curia is infamous as the place where Julius Caesar was assassinated by Brutus Cassius during the session of the Senate on Ides of March 44, 15 March 44 BC. Now, this is the origin. Pompey paid for this theater to gain political popularity during his second consulship. According to Plutarch, Pompey was inspired by his visit in 62 BC to a Greek theater in Mytilene. However, it's likely mistaken, as the theater of Mytilene would have been built into the hillside, and unlike Pompey's theater, did not have a scaena. If any inspiration came from the theater there, it would have been largely reworked and discarded, as Rome's urban geography made such a project unadaptable, I guess meaning put it in a hill or a mountain. Construction began around 61 BC. Prior to the construction, permanent stone theaters had been forbidden, and so to sidestep that issue, Pompey had the structure built in the Campus Martius, outside of the Papyrium, or sacred boundary, that divided the city from the Ager Romanus territory immediately outside the city. Pompey also had a temple to Venus Victrix built near the top of the theater's seating. That's that theater. Pompey then claimed that he had not built a theater, but rather a temple to Venus, to which he added the steps of a theater. This was done according to Tertullian to avoid censure, but the claim was likely in jest. Let's see. There were two performances are associated with the dedication, Clytemnestra by Axius and Equios Trianus, either by Livius Andronicus or Genatus Nabius or Claudius Aspis, a renowned tragic actor, was brought out of retirement in order to act in the theater's opening show. The show was accompanied by gladiatorial matches featuring exotic animals. The showing Clytemnestra proved an opportunity for Pompey to restage his triple triumph from 61 BC, representing himself both as Alexander the Great and Agamemnon. Other events were also around the city in the celebrations, including musicals, gymnastic contests, along with some horse races. Post Pompey and the Roman Empire, following Pompey's defeat and subsequent assassination in 48 BC during the Great Roman Civil War, 49 to 45 BC, Caesar used the theater to celebrate the triumph over Pompey's forces in Africa. The theater itself was the site of Caesar's assassination. At the time, the Roman Senate had been using various venues to conduct business, as the Senate House itself was under renovation. And so for 40 years, the theater was the only permanent theater located in Rome, till Lucius Cornelius Balbus the Younger constructed the Theater of Balbus, 13 BC, in the Campus Martius. The Theater of Pompey continued to be the main location for plays, but due to its splendor and size, in fact, the site was often considered the premier theater throughout its entire lifetime. Seeking association with the Great Theater, others constructed their own in and around the area of Pompey's. This led to the eventual establishment of a theater district. Octavian, in 32 BC, renovated the theater and moved the statue Pompey, at which Caesar was murdered, from the Curia to the Scania. The theater burned in AD 21, and afterwards Tiberius reconstructed the portions destroyed. During the reconstruction, a statue of Sejanus was set up in the theater on the decree of the Senate, but it did not survive Sejanus's downfall. The Tiberian restorations were completed under Caligula. That's a very interesting emperor, but dedicated by Claudius. During Claudius's restorations, his name, along with that of Tiberius, was inscribed next to that of Pompey. Let's see. The porticos and the theater were maintained for centuries. Octavian restored parts of the complex in 32 BC, and in AD 21, Tiberius initiated a reconstruction of the part of the theater that had been destroyed by fire, which was completed during the reign of Caligula. Claudius rededicated the temple of Venus, Victrix. Nero gilded the interior of the temple for the visit of Tridates in AD 66. The Scania burned in a large fire in AD 80 and was restored by Domitian. There were further restorations under Septimius Severus. One, Quintus Aculus Fusus, is noted by inscription as procurator, operas, theater. I guess he was the manager of the theater in Pompeii. The fire burned again in AD 247 and was later restored under the emperors Diocletian and Maximian, emperors Honorius and Arcadius, and later by Symmachus. A catalog compiled at the end of the 4th century recorded that the theater's seating capacity was 22,888 persons. A modern estimate of the capacity in 1992 in a new typographical dictionary of ancient Rome places its capacity at 11,000. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in AD 476, the theater Pompey remained in use, and when in the city of Rome came under the dominion of Ostrogothic kingdom. The structure was once again renovated between AD 507 and 511. However, this renovation would be its last. Following the destructive Gothic War in 535-554 AD, there was no need for a large theater because the population of Rome had declined drastically. As such, the theater was allowed to deteriorate. Okay. Well, that'll be all the reading. Yeah. So let me go back. So, and if you remember, this was a bust of Julius Caesar. Now, he was not formally understood to be an emperor, but was named a dictator. That was apparently a title too. Uh, yeah, right there. There's a theater on Marcus Ellis. So yeah, so it was right there at the A Theater Pompey right there, and to the far right at B was where Curio right there. I don't know if you can see it. Right there. Now that's where Curia Julia is right there. Looks like in this picture they're renovating it. And it's next to the Santi Luca Martina Alporo Romano. That's a church. Now those two buildings were connected. Let's see if I got that. Nope. That's a side view. Nope. No. Obviously I don't have it. So sorry about that. All right. Well, sorry for being a little bit disorganized this time, but uh, again, we're moving away from the Roman Forum and kind of branching out into other parts of the city of Rome. And today we covered the theater of Pompey and the model. So again, here it is. Let me shrink it down and move it. So that's what it looked like. And I believe right there is where the Senate met instead of over here. So I think it was there. So, and supposedly it held about 23,000 people here, but a later study said it was more like 11,000. Those pink things were cloth to shade the patrons while they were there. Yeah, it's very ornate. I don't know if I can go in there. Let me see if I can go in there. I didn't even think about that. Let me see if I can zoom in. Actually go in there. Well, there, yeah, I guess I can. So there would be there would be like the hallways that I was talking about in the garden. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Kind of a ground view of it. So let me see if I can go into this building. Goes back out. That's kind of what it would look like in the theater. So now we're standing on the stage. Wow. Trying to get into that building. Want to go in. Ring the doorbell. Oh, there it is. Cool. So, yeah. So that's kind of what it would look like. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Wow. And then you would kind of go into the theater, open the door, and go into the theater and sit down. And you would look up, you're looking at it from an actor's perspective. Wow. You see how those pink curtains kind of folded up. Very ornate. Dang. Pretty high up. Wow. Wonder if I could go into that building on the opposite side. Yeah. This is where I think they were talking about. Oops. Went just a hair bit too far. Yeah, that's inside that room. I don't know. I don't know if that's big enough to have a Senate meeting. And there's another view of the garden. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That's the theater of Pompey, Rome in the first century. Wow. They were definitely great architects for sure. Wonder if it'd be nice to have that today, you know, if we would live in that manner. I think I could. That's beautiful. All right. Well, I'm going to call it for today. Let me go back to the theater. I'll just do it here. Anyway. All right. Well, I hope you have a great day. Join us for the table talk. Not sure what I'm going to talk about today. I hadn't had time much this week to think about it. There's a lot going on. You know that I'm not even sure where it's at, where the bridge collapsed due to the container ships. That was a pretty bad event. That's going to hurt them for sure. All right. Well, it's kind of raining in Los Angeles, but wherever you are, I hope you have a great Saturday. We'll see you next week on The Portal with Bob Colbert. Take care, my friends.